in Silent Hill F, like when Hinako loses her arm, she cuts off her arm and she gets that beast arm. That moment was crazy, guys. It's crazy because it doesn't feel like a standard video game moment where you just get some power up and suddenly you feel more badass. Because on the one hand, while it does make you stronger, it also feels wrong. It just feels wrong. You know what I mean? When she starts, flailing around attacking the monsters with this arm, this bloodborne ass looking arm, like that shit is wild because you can tell through her dialogue when you first use the arm to kick ass that it just feels wrong. Doesn't feel like a good thing. It doesn't feel like something you should be cheering on. It feels like, man, this girl's humanity is being stripped away. And, you, the player, are just forced to go along with it. And it doesn't feel like a badass moment. So, like, this was a profound moment in a profound game. It's a very good game, that Silent Hill F. And, some people didn't like when she gets the arm, and some people thought that the combat in that game was like, oh, this is an action game now? This isn't Silent Hill. But context is important, guys. Story is important, and intent is important, especially in a game that leans very heavily on storytelling. So, like, you gotta read the vibes, you know what I mean? And the vibes of that moment were not meant to be like, hell yeah, I got this arm now. Yeah, I mean, mechanically, yeah, it is fun when she gets the arm. I mean, that shit is fun. And fighting with it is fun. Yeah, it is a power up if we're looking at it from a purely mechanical standpoint. But outside of just the joys it provides from an entertainment standpoint, there is the narrative context. And when you look at the narrative context, uh, the feeling is not quite the same, you know? You're no longer pumping your fist in the air saying, yeah, I got this arm. Especially when the cutscene that preceded the arm, when we think about like how she got the arm in the first place, uh, it doesn't come off as like a cool moment in the sense. It feels unsettling. It's almost like this horror game is doing something horrific, and therefore, even when your character becomes stronger, it's still unsettling and horrific. Therefore, the horror vibes still be horrific and shit. Therefore, it is really good shit. It's good design because it's like, it's a contrast. It's juxtaposing the feelings, and then you have mixed feelings. And that's what art should do. It should produce a multitude of feelings. Multitude. I meant to say multitude. Multitude is not a word. Anyway, I think that's cool. I think it's cool that Silent Hill F did that. That it provoked mixed feelings in me. I can only speak for myself, of course. Maybe you didn't feel that way in the game. Maybe you felt something completely different. I don't know. But I know that that moment to me was really, really cool. It reminded me of a similar contrast of feelings in Shadow of the Colossus, which is another profound, awesome video game that is fun and artsy as hell at the same time, which is always a nice combination. And that's a game where it makes you feel like shit for killing bosses. It subverts the boss fight. Normally in a game where you take on a big, imposing, challenging boss or monster of some kind, you feel very satisfied and uh, you feel overjoyed when you take it down, But in Shadow of the Colossus, defeating a boss is actually deflating. It's immediately a deflating sensation because they've got this mournful music and it feels like a tragedy has occurred. It feels like you committed a crime, like you've done something wrong, something very bad. It's like, shit, maybe is killing these giant sacred colossi, these big creatures, is like, is this something I should be doing? Like, the main character has a selfless reason. He's trying to like revive this girl, but like you don't actually know if it's something he should be doing, you know what I mean? And that's the genius there. That game is so vague, it leaves so much to your imagination. But once you start killing the colossi one after the other, it becomes more and more clear that, like, okay, I could be the bad guy here. And surely enough, at the end of the game, we find out his sword was stolen. It's a sacred sword. He's on forbidden land. These creatures he's slaying are not supposed to be slain because they're slowly reviving a dark entity that was kept sealed for like, millennia or whatever. So like, what a great subversion, man. It's just fucking cool because you think you're the hero and then it becomes more and more clear that you're doing something bad. Gradually, you come to the realization that you're doing something bad. So what would normally be a moment of jubilation and victory when you take down a tough, intimidating boss fight, in Shadow of the Colossus, you're always made to feel like a little bad about it. It never feels quite the way it normally would in a video game. And that's cool. Because while it is fun to take on these giants, every time you defeat one, you feel like, the game doesn't seem to agree that this is a moment of victory. It's cool. Kind of like Silent Hill F. Again, it's like you're taking something that normally is supposed to be cool or is supposed to be like a fist pumping moment, but instead it's like, oh, this feels off. Maybe I'm not supposed to like this moment, or maybe this is supposed to be unsettling or deflating in some way. So it makes you question, it makes you second guess the experience and the context of your actions within the game. You know, it's cool. It's cool when games do that. And these are games that do that really well. Now, why am I just randomly bringing up Silent Hill F and Shadow of the Colossus? Because it is that time, guys. It is that time. The moon is up. The crickets are chirping. I got Mega Man over here. And I'm just rattling it off. Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty kinda does something in that vein, where like you have your trusted colonel, your commander, who you talk to over the radio, and he's constantly trying to reassure you of your mission and what you need to be doing and what is at stake and what is important. Now, in most video games, when you have a guide, whether it's a fairy or a colonel or, I don't know, some like all-powerful whoever, I don't know, somebody of some kind of like authority that's sending you on a mission or a quest or whatever. And in Metal Gear Solid 2, that's Colonel Roy Campbell. He's like, he's instructing you the same way he instructed you as Snake in the original game. And he's instructing Raiden in MGS2 on his mission. But of course, spoilers for those who haven't played MGS2, it's an old frickin' game, so I'll be nice and say spoiler anyway. Still there? That's good. So you get to the end of the game, and of course you find out that Colonel Roy Campbell is actually an AI that you've been tricked, you've been fooled, that you've been misled the entire time by an AI system, which is pretty cool. Just makes that game way more ahead of its time than I think people ever thought it would be. Every year that game gets more ahead of its time. Anyway, the AI, Colonel Campbell AI, starts rattling off all this crazy shit to you at random, and towards the end of the game when the AI starts glitching out and everything. And it becomes clear that everything you were directed uh, as a player with this trusted guide. And you got to remember, Metal Gear Solid 2 is a crazy freaking game. It's Metal Gear. The bosses are crazy. Uh, all the details of the mission are crazy. You've got the giant Metal Gear. You've got another clone Snake brother just running around with like a Doc Ock armored suit and shit. It's all nuts. You got a vampire running up walls and a girl who's deflecting bullets just by standing there. And it's like, it's some crazy shit happening in Metal Gear Solid 2. So, like, Roy Campbell, if you think about it, in that game is your only trusted source. He's the only rock you have in that situation. Where, like, okay, at least I can trust Roy Campbell. At least I can trust the Colonel, right? He was the good guy in MGS1. He was always on my side, right? I can trust him. If he knows what's going on and what's important and what's at stake, or what I have to save or stop or whatever, or who I have to rescue, I can always trust the Colonel. But no, you find out at the end of the game he's an AI. He's not even a real person. It's not the same guy from MGS1. It's not a person at all. You've been misled. And not only that, but everything you did was just a recreation of the events from the first game. It's like a simulation. So everything was a hoax, a scam. You've been completely had. And the one person that you thought was in your corner was actually not even a person at all. And that's nuts. That's great. Because yeah, when you get to the end of this game, it really does, because of that, it feels like what little reality or grounding you had in this otherwise fictional game completely deteriorates to the point where this AI commander is literally telling you to shut off the game, breaks the fourth wall entirely, and addresses you, the player, turn the game off. That's still one of my favorite, like, moments in gaming history. I just love that shit. The game is literally telling you to turn it off. You know, that Kojima, what a rascal. He's great. I loved that. A lot of people bring up the Psycho Mantis memory card thing, but it's like, okay, that's a cool trick, but like, as cool as that was already, and I know that was kind of similar, to me, the context is different because if Psycho Mantis was a villain, you expect a villain to do tricky things, even if mentioning your memory card and what's on it is a fun little fourth wall break as well. The Colonel telling you to turn the whole game off, the guy that's been telling you what to do for the whole game, and he's your trusted commander, you know, back at HQ or whatever, like that's far more chilling to me. That jumped out at me more because this is a character in the game that I trusted for the whole game, you know, telling me like what I need to do when I press the action button or how to do this or you know, um, how to use your sniper rifle and everything else. This he's that guy, and he bugs out at the end, and you find out that he's just this AI construct. And he starts not only breaking the fourth wall, but addressing you, the player, and telling you that now you got to turn off the game. Ah, good times, good times. Yep. Just just reminiscing, guys. Just reminiscing. Sometimes in these stressful times, we got to de-stress with some fond memories of the fun, inconsequential stress that games deliberately brought on us for the sake of sensory satisfaction. And I have to say, those were good times. But until next time, you get to burning and live for the passion.